Hello. This is the first episode of Piercing the Veil Through the Hollow Mirrors. My name's Chris Morris, and I'm going to be walking through this book that I wrote, which is a practical commentary on the revelation of Christ. And so it's meant to be read with the book. It's structured with chapter and verse, but you can read it straight through too. You definitely will get more out of it if you read it in conjunction with the revelation of Christ. So, before I get started, I want to just read a quick introduction from my man, Manly P. Hall. And he's one of my favorite teachers. This is Magnum Opus, The Secret Teaching of All Ages. If you don't have this book, run out right now and go buy it because you're slipping. It's a big book. It's fucking great. It's like right next to the Bible in my terms. Okay, so I would go. If I had to get two books right now, presently speaking, and this may change. I like a lot of books, but I would grab the Bible and then I'd grab this. Okay, so anyways, I'll just jump right into this. He says, in this age, the word philosophy has little meaning unless accompanied by some other qualifying term. The body of philosophy has been broken up into numerous isms, more or less antagonistic, which have become so concerned with the effort to disprove each other's fallacies that the sublimer issues of divine order and human destiny have suffered deplorable neglect. The ideal function of philosophy is to serve as the stabilizing influence in human thought. By virtue of its intrinsic nature, it should prevent man from ever establishing unreasonable codes of life. Philosophers themselves, however, have frustrated the ends of philosophy by exceeding in their wool gathering those untrained minds whom they are supposed to lead in the straight and narrow path of rational thinking. Okay, so I'm going to couple that with this little part right here, and I hope you'll see why. He says in chapter 2, Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, right at the top, it goes, when confronted with a problem involving the use of reasoning faculties, individuals of strong intellect keep their poise and seek to reach a solution by obtaining facts bearing upon the question. Those of immature mentality, on the other hand, when similarly confronted, are overwhelmed. While the former may be qualified to solve the riddle of their own destiny, the latter must be led like a flock of sheep and taught in simple language. They depend almost entirely upon the ministrations of the shepherd. The Apostle Paul said that these little ones must be fed with milk, but that meat is food of strong men. Thoughtlessness is almost synonymous with childishness, while thoughtfulness is symbolic of maturity. There are, however, but few mature minds in the world, and thus it was that the philosophic religious doctrines of pagans were divided to meet the needs of these two fundamental groups of human intellect. One philosophic, the other incapable of appreciating the deeper mysteries of life. To the discerning few were revealed the esoteric or spiritual teachings, while the unqualified many received only the literal or exoteric interpretations. In order to make simple the great truths of nature and the abstract principles of natural law, the vital forces of the universe were personified, becoming the gods and goddesses of the ancient mythologies. So you can take those two things, and we don't have secret societies because they're trying to keep it a secret. It's because most people just don't catch it because they don't have enough interest to look past the surface of things. On top of that, you've got a bunch of false prophets that like to think highly of themselves, and instead of helping people to learn how to think for themselves, they kind of gather them to themselves so they can, look at me and how smart I am, and we've all felt that. It's anyhow. So so what we're going to do now is jump right into this. I think that that's a good introduction to what we're doing here, and the reason that I say that is because Well, we're looking for the esoteric version of, well, who are we? What does it mean to be human? Who is the Christ? Who is Jesus Christ? You talk to people all the time. I didn't even want to use the word for a long time. I didn't use either word for a long time because I had been beaten with Jesus and Christ, and I'm sure people listening to me now, if they've made it this far, it's like it may still bring up, what's this guy talking about? We all talk about, and that's what I experienced. It was like, well, nobody even had the same freaking definition of who Jesus was or the Christ was, let alone Jesus Christ. So, well, there was this book called Revealing the Christ, or the Revelation of Christ, and that's what it's unveiling. So, the unfortunate part is that, well, we've lost the understanding of the symbolism used to describe that's used in describing the Christ and what that means, and it's very complex and deep. So, but what I tried to do here is I tried to distill it down as simply as possible as a starting place, and so so just jump right into it. So there's the table of contents, and that has a certain structure to it, and I'll let you ponder as you get the book. Some of this stuff I'm gonna try to skip through as quickly as possible. So let's start with the picture of the Sphinx, and underneath it says, "The initiate stands before the Sphinx, the traveler having been made fully aware of those that have stood in the place he is right now. It must not be ignored that many have been devoured who could not answer the riddle it posed. What is the creature that walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 in the evening?" And I'll let you ponder that. It's deeper than, you can Google the question, but but when you get the answer, just think about what it means when I say the traveler having been made fully aware of those that have it must not be ignored that many have been devoured who could not answer the riddle. So yeah, think about it. Anyways, we're going to jump right into it now. So the introduction to the reader. As a youth, I was plagued with the question why. What was the reason behind it all? I have thought long about the nature of life, and have read many great books. Of all the books I read, none intrigued me more than the Revelation of Jesus Christ. It is a sort of book, and yet always left me. It is a short book, and yet always left me staggering with bewilderment. I understand today that the symbolism employed in its text is meant to convey a multiplicity of narratives. However, in my studies it seemed that some interpretations could not be rectified with others. As I delved into the symbolism of Jewish, Greek, and Egyptian culture, I was astonished with the tapestry of stories it conveyed. Though exotic in its approach and descriptive style from the rest of the New Testament, I concede that the book of Revelation is a work of inspired beauty. There is no way that I can improve on such a work. To attempt as much would be to bring the plagues that it speaks of upon myself and deny the growth of further enlightenment. Therefore, what is read in the following is simply an attempt to parse my own understanding of its teaching. It is not a substitute or an addendum, but an arrangement of ideas that I might define what I do not comprehend and apply what is deemed natural. My aim is to distill the vast subjects it presents into a starting place, to illuminate the stepping stones of a working faith. The revealing of Christ seems to be a reply, based on keen observation and passed down from our ancestors, to those who would be so bold as to ask, why? So, let me start off with the invitation, and that's chapter 1, 1 through 3. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Proverbs 1:20 through 23. Not even through deep knowledge can the self be reached, unless evil ways are abandoned, and there is rest in the senses, concentration in the mind, and peace in one's heart. The Upanishads. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Psalm 46:10. So that is the invitation. And I'm going to assume that you have some type of interest, or you wouldn't made it this far. And if you'd like to hear more, and I hope you follow me along as I get through this. Until then.